Sanjay and I've been so today I'm going to tell a little bit about what this class is about and what is Vedic mathematics is all about, and a high-level picture of what is covered, what's the inspiration, a little bit about myself. And today is Teachers' Day, so it's a really nice coincidence to give introduction about this. Okay, so here's what I have in mind, and then we'll have plenty of time towards the last 5 or 10 minutes if you have specific questions, which you want to get covered from this introduction class. So today we're going to start with a simple Saraswati shloka. This is the first thing that we do in every class as just a practice. And we're gonna tell, for those who are completely new to Vedic mathematics, you would like to know what is the history, what are the benefits that you can see, and if you don't have much background on Vedic mathematics, we're gonna talk a little bit about sutras. Sutras is nothing but formula in the conventional mathematics world. Specifically, what are these 16 sutras that are actually the whole and soul of Vedic mathematics. We'll take two sutras just to give you a flavor of what Vedic mathematics class and some of the principles that are around Vedic mathematics. Especially I picked two sutras that will help in day-to-day mathematics, and at the end of this 30 minutes I want to make sure that this is not only an information, but you get to know some little bit of Vedic mathematics as much, and then we'll conclude with what are all the topics that are covered in the class, and we'll have the last 5 to 10 minutes of Q&A, and of course you can always email Talent Nook if you have more questions if I'm not covering in this particular forum today. All right, so I just want you guys to take like 1 minute maybe and just do these 4 problems. You can pick any of them, but if you get, so I'm gonna just give like a minute and 30 seconds to 2 minutes, and then we will solve these problems using Vedic mathematics. So I thought this exercise it really helped to get a feel of it. So why don't you just take a quick minute with a piece of paper and pen and just do these 4 problems. And I will just time it for a minute, and then we'll continue. If you can do all 4, great. Otherwise, just you can pick any of those, as many as you can. All right. All right. Okay, we will probably pause in 15 seconds, and if you know the conventional method, and then when we go through the Vedic method for this simple problem, simple mathematic multiplications. All right, you can put your answers, and let's see how we can learn some quick method today. All right. So before we get to our shloka sutras part, let's just read the shloka. Saraswati namastubhyam varde kamarupini vidya arambham karishyami siddhe bhavatu me sada. I found that this shloka is very good practice for the students. So I like to really start my class with this shloka every class. And each student takes turns. So by the end of the 10 classes, they are familiar with this shloka as particular. All right. Let me talk about history. What is Vedic mathematics is all about, right? Um, so Vedic mathematics is an ancient system of calculation. By the word Veda, you probably have guessed it, that it is an ancient system. It's a science of mathematics, Ganit Shastra it is called. But it was there hundreds and hundreds years back, right? Just like our Vedas. But it was this great person, his name is Sri Bharati Krishna Tirthaji Maharaj. He's the one who studied these Vedas. So that's why we call it, he rediscovered from the Vedas between 1911 and 1918. And before, he wrote 16 volumes based on all the sutras that he discovered from the Vedas. Unfortunately, the story goes that, all of his work was stolen or lost. And we lost the big, rich, the science. And before this Bharati Krishna Maharaj passed, he was able to write one volume all over again, and that's the book that is left behind. And so he wrote one book in before he passed in 1960, and it was that book that has all the rich Vedic mathematics and this all the things that he discovered from the Vedas. Right, so that's the history. What do you get out of Vedic mathematics? Why is it so unique and different? It's just like powerful Vedas. There is so much to it that the more you learn, the more benefits you get out of it. So here are the quick things that I found. First of all, it's fast calculation. Most of the things you do it in your mind. It provides a single line mental super fast methods, very quick. Multiple methods you can get, so you can quickly check your answers. It increases your concentration, improves confidence. If you don't like math, probably at the end of Vedic mathematics you'll have a different opinion because it's fun. Fun learning Vedic mathematics. It becomes a fun learning experience to most extent because it's easy. It's not tedious. You can relate, and you can. It builds a lot of self-confidence because you can do most of these calculations in your mind. And if you compare the conventional math, some of the methods and techniques that we learn in our school are sometimes quite tedious, prone to a lot of human errors. You tend to make mistakes, and it becomes very discouraging because there's a lot of room to fail in some of the steps. Unlike in Vedic mathematics, of course, it demands a lot of practice, just like in any other science or any other new thing that you learn, skills. But once you know some of these methods, you will find that it's super fast. So speed is the biggest advantage, and more of doing in your mind, unlike on paper, right? So those are the two key benefits that you think you can get out of this new skills. So sutras is the kind of the key word which you will learn through Vedic mathematics. So the entire Vedic mathematics is comprised of 16 sutras, or the 16 formulae. These are the ones that pretty much everything in Vedic mathematics is, and there are 16 sub-sutras as well. So you'll hear this word sutra in the entire, everything that we learn is based on one particular or two multiple sutras. So the ones that I have marked here in stars, these are the 6 sutras that I cover in the class. Of course, I don't, 16 sutras is a huge science, and it's months of practice. But I give a flavor of these 6 sutras that I find very useful, easy to learn for a beginner class. And then for advanced class, we take on some other advanced sutras which demand a lot of introductory, So I picked these 6 sutras and some specific lessons that are good for a beginner class. Okay, So we will do two of these sutras to just get a feel of it. So you'll get to understand what I'm talking about in the next slide. Okay, so let's take first sutra, which we call it Ekadikena Purvena, which is, it simply means one more than the previous one. So if you have any numbers that end with 5 and you want to square them, because they are complementary numbers, of course I won't get into the details of it, just for the interest of time, but any numbers that you are having ending with 5, we did squaring of 85 as one of your example, that you can use this particular formula here. Okay, so how do you do that? The 65 square is, you divide that into two parts. One is 5 square is 25. On the right side, you'll just get 25. It's very straightforward. On the left side, it is one more than the previous one, which is 6 times. 1 more than 6 is 7. So you do in the left side is 6 times 7. It says one more than the previous one for complementary multiplication, right? So and this works very well with all numbers ending with 5. So your answer will be 6 times 7, which is 42, and the 25 is always constant on the right side. So the answer is 4225. It's very straightforward. You don't need piece of paper or anything, right? You see the number, you get the answer. So that's the power of Vedic mathematics, is you have some very cool technique, not techniques, it's very interesting methods of solving such multiplications. Okay, so that's a simple answer. 65 square is 4225. Let's do one more. 95 square, you must have guessed it by now. 9 times 1 more than 9 is 10. So 9 times 10 is 90 on the left and 25 on the right. So 95 square is 9025. 15 square, 1 times 2, 225. 45 square, 4 times 5, 2025. So this is a very simple one example of where you can use that particular sutra, Ekadikena Purvena, and get some answers, right? Okay, so that's your first. So now let's get a quick feel. So you already learned one lesson. So now let's see how you can do a second one, all from 9 and the last from 10. So this is Nikhilam Navatasharam Dashata. So this is Sanskrit, of course. You don't need to learn Sanskrit for this class, or just if you had that question, you just need to know what that sutra means. So you can apply this particular sutra in multiplication of numbers which are near to base, like 10, 100, 1000, things like that. So anything which is closer to the powers of 10. All right. So let's take an example so you get an idea of it. Okay. So let's take an example. These are two numbers that are close to base of 10, right? 14 and 12. Okay. This is one of the snapshot of a lesson which I have, which is numbers above the base. So first is, we know the base of 10. We put these two numbers on the side, 14 and 12. So now 14 is 4 more than 10. So you write plus 4, and so is 12 is plus 2. So 14, 12 is plus 4 and plus 2, right? So I hope you are so far so good. So that's how you represent the numbers. 14, you just put plus 4 because it is above base of 10, right? And then you have two sections to this. One is you multiply the right part of it. 4 times 2 is 8. So you get one part of the answer very easily. Simple multiplication, 4 times 2 is 8. The next part is you do crosswise. You either add 14 plus 2 or 12 plus 4. Okay, either is same thing, 16, right? You can do, so you multiply vertically and you crosswise add or subtract. Because it is plus 4, you of course you will 14 plus 2 or 12 plus 4, so that's why you get 16. So that's how you get 168. Very simple. So if you know this particular way of doing it, you really don't need multiple steps to do it. Of course, conventional math also will give you two-step process, but if you have some complex numbers, you'll find this particular Vedic mathematical approach is extremely straightforward. One line, quick and fast. Basically, you will be able to answer this very quickly. Okay, so let's take one more example. 103 times 102. I'm sure you must have guessed it. Now it's base of 100, right? You do plus 3 plus 2 on the right side. You multiply on the right side, it's 6. Because we are talking about base 100, we have to represent that 6 with 2 digits, because base of 100 means 2 zeros, right? So there's some caveats to it, like you can't just put the answer 6. It depends on how you represent based on the base. If it's base 10, you can write 6. If it's base 100, you have to write it with 2 digits, which is 06. On the left side is 103 plus 2, or 102 plus 3, which is 105. So your answer 103 times 102 is simple. With a closing your eyes, you can quickly calculate in your mind and just say 10506, right? That's how quickly you can get some multiplications done using this particular sutra. All right. So I think, yeah, we still have another 10 minutes. So I'll quickly kind of walk you through what happens through the classes that the 10 classes cover. We start with simple addition, subtraction, mental math. There's not a whole lot, but the whole 80% of the focus is given in multiplications and the different ways of doing the multiplications. So we start with complementary numbers. The numbers that end with 5 are a classic example. We have some specific lessons for numbers that are multiplications that have all 9s. Numbers above the base, we just saw an example. We do for below the base as well, and a combination below and above the base, right? So that's another combination. We have some very special ways of doing multiplication by 11, 12, any numbers with combinations of 9s, 2-digit multiplications, 3 digits, and 4-digit multiplication. So 80% of this class is all around getting really good at the basics of multiplying numbers. And then we get into some advanced topics of square roots and how to square the numbers, how to create a cube of numbers, and how to find proportions and things like that. So these are my 15 topics that I picked, and the flow kind of worked really well with the last 2 or 3 batches that I did. And I found that by the end of this, you're very well versed with 2-digit, 3-digit multiplications, and especially doing it in your mind, right? That's the key thing that we're looking for here. Okay, so I think we gave that quick exercise for a minute for you, and then what I will do is I will quickly tell you the answers for this if you are curious, and if you want to correct your answers. 35 square is nothing but 3 times 4, 12, 25, right? Very simple. 85 square is 8 times 9 is 72, 72, 25. That's, and then 13 times 12, you'll have plus 3 plus 2, which will be 6 on the right side, and it will be 13, 156, if I'm right. Okay, so 13 and 12 will be plus 3, plus 2, 6 on the right side, and 15 on the left side. So 156 is your answer. Your 102 and 108 will be plus 2, plus 8. It will be 16 on the right side, and 110 on the left side, which is 11016, right? So those are your answers. If you got to do it, you should be able to do this in less than like 30 seconds. If you get to that kind of speed, all these 4 problems should not take you more than 10 seconds if you know some of these cool science of Vedic mathematics. So with that, I've tried this a couple of times with a couple of kids, and then kids learn much faster. I'm surprised how quickly they grasp this, and once they know it, if they keep practicing this, then you can even get even faster than 50 seconds to solve some of these problems. Okay, so today being the Teacher's Day, I just found one quote on WhatsApp this morning, and I found it really interesting. So I thought I'll share that today in the class webinar. So, and that's exactly what my teacher had said when I was in school. The teacher has to inspire, and he just not transmit information. So that's my motivation, is to at least teach this Vedic mathematics, which is so powerful and rich. I wish I had learned during my school days, but at least, my goal is to teach at least 500 students, hopefully, in the near future. I already did around 50 so far. I think I would say 30 students, not 50. Yeah. Hopefully I can reach that goal, and hopefully 10% of them continue that journey and make it, spread the power of it. So with that, I think we have 6-7 minutes to go through some of the questions, if you have, and then we can take it from there. So I'll stop sharing, and if you have a questions, please feel free to ask. Around 7 participants. You can also chat, write your questions in the chat if you want to. Oh, somebody posted answer for all the, cool. I think the last one is incorrect. 18800. Very close. That's good. Good job, Alicia. I'm glad you got it. I think if you do take these lessons, you already are one class ahead. Okay. Let's see if there's anything in the chat. Okay, you can unmute, and or you can just put your questions in the chat, and we can go through them, and then we'll wrap up the session around 4 or 5. If there are no more questions, we should be good. Okay. There's a question from Sanjita about how does it work for Algebra 1? I think I know what, perhaps you are in grade 6, 7, something, in that range, but anyway, these is very different from conventional math, right? You are completely learning a different science of working with mathematics. There's a lot of overlap for sure, but specifically for algebra, I don't cover simultaneous equations or anything like that in the beginner class. We have an intermediate class for those who have completed beginners, where we do some of that, some of the geometry and things like that. But this one doesn't cover any equations or anything. So the curriculum that I shared with you is that's the scope. But I'm sure you can use something simple to, a square, a plus b square, there's a lot of overlap. You can connect those dots, but to answer your question, I don't cover algebra specific like simultaneous equations in this particular class. Okay, chat has. Okay, the question from Alicia is, I think it's a good question. I'm sure other folks also have that. What kind of schedule will this program follow? The second part is, what is the fee to join the program? That's something that Talent Nook will be sending you all the details. And I think for all those who have attended today, or you'll see, yeah, there you go. Talent Nook already answered that. Great. Schedule. I'm sure again it is going to be, the details I have is the 2 batches, they start on September 16 for grade 4, 5, 6, and September 17th for 7, 8, 9, 10. The 10-week curriculum. So that's the details. But if you need specific details about the timings and all of that, it will. Yeah, I think I'm sure Talent Club is already answering the details for you. But you should expect an email with all those details in case you don't have that. Okay. Any other questions? Let me see, please. Yep, I think you should expect an email with the details. Okay, if you have questions, just feel free to type in the chat, or you can answer a question or discuss it here as well. So Alicia, if you're still online and if you want to answer, I'm just curious if you got the method. How about 55 square? If you can try that by not using any paper pen. Perfect. That's good. I think that just helps me. You got the sutra really well. 30, 25. 5 times 6 is 30, 25. Very good. That's the right answer. Okay. So if one of the questions I had got is what's the typical class look like? What happens to the 1 hour of class? And I found after 3 or 4 batches that I did this, I found a similar pattern really works. Like I give all the problems that I'm trying to teach the Vedic star method. We try to do those 5 problems by not knowing the Vedic method, just like we did today. And then I go through the method of several examples, really solving, progressively some 10, 5, at least around 8 to 9 examples. And then at the end of the class, we redo those problems we started with so that they can really understand the difference, right? They time it. So it's all about timing. At the end of it, the goal is if you have taken 5 minutes through the conventional method, I want to get it to 2.5 minutes, less than half, right? That's where we want to get at. So over a period of, and that's the pattern that I follow. And then we have a quiz at the end of 5 sessions, and then the final quiz at the end of the 10th class. And each day, each class has a homework of 20 problems, which they will submit over Classroom. We use Google Classroom to do all the communications, and the students get a complete set of 20 questions for that particular lesson. So yeah, there's a basically a homework of around 200 questions at the end of the class and 2 quiz. And this time I want to put some videos as well for the quiz so that they can go back and correct their answers and things like that. So that's the typical format of the class. Alicia is asking, in this course will be also be explained the derivation of the sutras and the formulas? Um, I think, frankly, no, we don't get into the derivation of this formulas. Just like in conventional method, we don't prove, but we use the sutras and we use the context in which all of these calculations can be done. Like we have the 6 sutras, right? So most of the sutras are used in so many places. So, so we don't really get into the details of how a sutra is derived. I think that's definitely not a beginner topic, but we do kind of analyze the sutra, what it means, and we see what are the different scenarios that we can use it based on the research that this science has. So yes, so you will learn the applications of the sutras, but I don't plan to cover, or it's beyond the scope of this particular course or my expertise. It's yeah, I don't do the derivation of the sutras as such. I think there's more fun in applying the sutras and really understanding, and then once you see the applications and once you get that curiosity, you'll have to really learn the original book of Vedic mathematics to find out. And at least I have not seen that material covered, but I'm sure there is something out there. Okay, there is a question. Is there a way this presentation can be accessed afterwards? I don't know. I know it's recorded, but I don't know if maybe Talent Nook can answer that question for you, if there is a way to get it. But yeah, I mean, if you have specific questions, I'm sure we can set up something to fill in some of the gaps. Sure. You're welcome, Alicia. Thanks for taking the time, and it's 4:05. If you have any questions, we can wrap up in next 2 minutes. Just type in your questions, and I'm looking forward to have you in the class, and definitely research more on Vedic mathematics online and find out more about it. All right. Okay. All right, we'll wrap up here in another 2 minutes or so. So any last minute questions, please put it in the chat. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining today. Appreciate your time, and have a wonderful long weekend.